Good afternoon. How are you today? Well, Holly and I got some good news. She's testing, and she's testing ahead of what they'd expect her progress to be. That's not to say that you won't have tremors, headaches, pain, all manner of things. But she is getting stronger day by day, and they've noticed it. And we just have to continue on the mark. So I offer this out for those of you who wonder about, well, what can happen with this very dangerous operation? It's dangerous in the sense that there are so many challenges, but it's a choice to have new lungs over the ones that failed. So enough of that. If you've ever thought of donating your organs, you can certainly see why it makes a big difference. And I've started to wear a little lapel pin that has lungs on it, and the number of people come up and say they're donors or they know somebody who has profited from a donation, well, just keep that in mind. It's not for everyone, but it's a thought about one thing you can leave of your legacy to help someone else continue to live. Today, well, what else do we have at the close of the court day but Bannon blustering outside, giving the defense outside, the judge won't allow inside. It's a defense that has no legs. But it doesn't matter because he expects, probably rightly, that the more he fights that way, the more likely he is to be a martyr, and the more likely maybe some juror will see that he's doing this and maybe hang the jury. What I talked about the last couple of days, jury nullification. Now, the judge started the day saying he wasn't going to let the defense get away with any of that stuff. But according to reports I've heard, they've been backdooring this when they get the opportunity to do it. The government has already rested. They had several witnesses who basically beat back the defense and proved the affirmative case that he had a date certain to appear and a date certain to present documents, and he didn't do it. So, bingo, he's guilty. They don't say he's guilty, but they'll argue that you may find the jury that he was guilty. The shortest trial I ever had as a prosecutor, well, the trial wasn't so short, but the fastest verdict I ever got was in a perjury case in which the person claimed they didn't recall. And I had a very good moment in the cross-examination, but the defendant was very sympathetic, and when the jury came back, I didn't know what they'd come back with, but I thought it would take so long that I went up to a different floor in the Southern District of New York to present to the grand jury, and as soon as I got there, I was told there was a verdict. So there was like a verdict in 15 minutes, and I thought that was a bad sign for the government, but it wasn't. And I suspect we might get a fast verdict here. It's a simple case. That one was a felony, perjury, it's complicated. This is not so complicated unless other forces come into it. And some people say, how could you possibly live in D.C. and not know about 9/11? And that's a good point. If you can have a jury that is so insulated from everything around them, they don't even know that 9/11, the January the 6th occur, then who are they? Same would be true of 9/11, but different story, as you know. Something interesting happened on the Hill, which is that the Congress passed a bill that may not pass in the Senate, but consider the fact that in the House, this is a bill to recognize and protect same-sex marriage and persons of different races, like the Loving case. And 47 Republicans joined it. Now, I'm not dancing in the street, but it does reflect a certain acceptance of where we are as a nation. If we can only break that out and have Republicans who have souls, well, that's too much to expect, so we're not even going to go down that route. The Democrats, some say, supposedly support this guy Cox because he's so far right. They hope the Democrat, who is our nominee to be governor of Maryland, will do better. This is always dangerous. In fact, some of this talk happened with Trump. I'm a firm believer to stay out of the election. People can show me examples where it worked for them, but I think in many cases it works against you. One of the big issues of the day, when you consider the heat, it's about 90 right now while I'm walking, the heat, the fires, the lack of water, the energy challenges, the problem about food security, the problem about living someplace, makes the failure of Republicans and Democrats, but particularly Manchin and his colleague, Sinema, it makes those people especially evil, in my opinion, not to try to do something to improve the lot of the world by doing something. There's a story that a golf course uses 1 million gallons of water a day to preserve that golf course. Can you imagine? There are people who can't wet their lips in some places. And yes, there's a challenge between the geography and the weather of those two places. But how can elected officials call themselves human? How can they dare to talk about helping the people and the rights of the people when they don't care who is homeless, who's dying, who's foodless, who's suffering? Now, Biden, I believe, strongly wanted to do something, and his proposal by executive order is to roll back and resist opening up the fields for energy, allowing certain fuels to be exported, encouraging renewables. But he's not declaring a national emergency. And I have two feelings about that. One is, why not go 100% on this and on women's rights, on Roe v. Wade? And the other is does he think I give them a chance to do the right thing and then I punch them in the face with an emergency authorization? So, what do I see happening? I'm encouraged in another field that it appears that the prosecutor in Suffolk in Georgia is a real prosecutor. And she subpoenaed Rudy Giuliani, and Rudy challenged it, Rogue Rudy, and the judge said, get your ass down here. So that's the kind of judge we need. And that's what we need in D.C. And that's what we need in New York. But, let's praise those people who, let's pass the ammunition to those people who actually know what to do with it. And by the way, Garland, maybe you should take a look at how she does business. She's not twirling her thumbs. She's actually bringing witnesses into the grand jury and hopefully getting ready to indict Trump and the rest of his band of merry criminals who would corrupt America and who would try to overthrow the government in a coup to make a man president who doesn't deserve to park your car. So that's kind of the way I see it today. Nice visiting with you. And maybe I'll be out tomorrow in another warm day. Bye-bye.